Today we're interviewing Painkiller, Seth Calloway, Adam. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Adam, also Painkiller, also Seth Galloway, also like hundreds of other characters.
And then I'm joined by a co-host who is Indran, Jimothy Clavish, Matthew Aimtrom. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. I am all of those names and probably many, many more, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh yes, I'm also thrilled to be here.
I'm sure.
We know you are.
uh,
Throw that out there.
so, real quick question of clarification. Shin RPB 1.pro boards, the here scene, uh, was that the first one? Or was Varen the first one?
Varen was the first one. Um, Hircine came after that board got nuked,
Right on, right on.
which I guess is a kind of like a story in itself. But
Well, if you want to tell it, go for it.
I don't remember 100% everything that happened, but there was basically a falling out between the admin MJ and a bunch of the other staff and members. So she used to have art that was not entirely appropriate,
Ah,
and it was posted, and then one of the angry members reported it, and because it was the admin who had been posting it, they had to close down the site. So everyone moved over to her scene.
that is very close to what happened to Shin RPB 2. 2S issues got it closed down.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It's almost like fate.
Not that weird. And admin. Remember, she went. She went to RPB 2, um, and then there was a whole bunch of issues with that. That I will probably need to say for when I'm being interviewed, since you weren't around for those, but I was.
Pretty much. Okay, Ryan, if you want to do the first question.
Adam, you've been role playing in the, let's just call it, very loose Shinverse. Since the start of the RPBs, you've gone through most of the major ones, including some of the more unique spin-offs, such as Paradigm Shift, as well as what 259 became, Cabal. So I guess I would ask, out of all of the Shinverse sites that you've been at, which one holds the fondest memories for you?
Um, that's it's kind of rough because like I have a lot of fond memories with each of the boards, but I would say I guess it's kind of self-serving, but I'd say I really liked Paradigm, even though I was like a GM on there, because there was a lot of storylines that I thought were really interesting, coming from like Tyler and Tex Ryan, and I enjoyed being able to do mine too, and it really let me kind of think of like, before we had gone to Paradigm, uh, the boards I had been on were mostly like realistic, quote unquote, in terms of their fighting. There was no like chi powers. There was no superpowers. Like, but when I went to Paradigm, that changed with the whole map serum and stuff. So that was a whole new experience for me too.
Okay.
Yeah, right on. It was a slight adjustment for me as well, even coming from a superpowers board and making one with Chi, going to Paradigm, and being like, "This is your power." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. That's a neat concept. It's more X mini than uh, techniques or Chi or martial arts, but it still fit in. I feel with the way you guys usually were writing.
Yeah, I think Tyler and Tex Ryan, they were mostly the ones who came up with the idea. They got it from some New Mutant board, which was like an X-Men spin-off kind of thing. And it's where we got the whole GMing ideas from, because before that, most of the boards were just like very open in terms of like everyone kind of drives their own story forward, and then Paradigm had like, no, this is like a story arc that you're taking part of. It's more player versus environment than player versus player.
Yeah, we've all pretty much experienced that one from uh, both the Shin RPBs being super hands-offy with the overarching story being more character-driven than anything else.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
and I think that kind of is what did the nails in the coffin near the end of it, because Shin ended and the drive for people to join those sites was gone. Uh, so there was no point to staying PvP.
Hmm.
People needed a story, and I think that's probably why Paradigm survived and is, I guess, still going. I'm not sure.
It's not going
Oh, it's
anymore.
not going anymore.
Every once in a while, Tyler will show up and be like, "Hey, I got a great idea," and then it kind of
Sputters
fizzles
after
really
a week
quick.
and a half.
Yeah, but he's too busy to run things.
Yeah.
I'm too lazy to run things.
Uh, so for me, my first question is going to be earliest memory and what character did you start with?
My very first character on role-playing boards was Painkiller, uh, and he was basically supposed to be me, but like he was very different at the start. He was what I would use for like when I would play like wrestling games. He was a heel kind of thing, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was basically what I had taken, whatever experience I had with that, and I came onto the role playing boards because I'd never done any before. And the very first memory I have with him is fighting a guy named Bruce. And Bruce was he was the nicest guy, and like he would always go out of his way to like fight all the newbies to kind of like he was like your welcome party almost. And he was like the greatest guy for that because he never got snooty about, oh, I'm not gonna fight this guy, he could suck, whatever. Bruce is just like, oh, new person, I'm gonna fight this guy. And like I remember fighting him, and then basically Kazuki, who was the admin or like co-admin at the time,
Mm.
showed up and like whipped both our asses kind of thing. And I was like, man, this fighting is a lot harder than I thought it was, but like I enjoyed it, and I was like, I'm gonna do this more. So Painkiller just basically went off and just fought everybody. So
Became fight happy.
yeah, he's the guy I have the most fights with,
Yeah.
and the most losses with because he was dumb.
God, that reminds me of my start.
Yeah.
Like I made Leon, who originally in the last podcast I said his original FC was Hiro Yui from Gundam Wing, and I didn't know what I was doing with the character. I didn't know what fighting RP was gonna be like. And somebody messaged me in the chat room, the fucking JavaScript thing we had on the site at the time. It was Vedis, and he goes, "I'll fight you." And I was like, "Alright, cool." I had no idea. He made the thread. I replied. We started fighting, and like halfway through the fight, after he'd already like broke one of my character's legs and hit him over the head with a fucking crowbar, I get a message, just a PM. He goes, "I can't believe you fought Vedis. You're crazy." I was like, "What do you mean?" I don't know what you're talking about. Apparently, he had a reputation at that point already.
Fuck.
Yeah.
But it was seriously fun for me either way, just to visualize what was going on. I was like, this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the time. I'm just going to be fighting everyone.
And I think it should be noted, as is often the case with like people that play the antagonist characters on these sites, not always, but Bettis, out of character, super nice, helpful guy.
Oh yeah,
We're always willing to try to help someone better their writing, or get ideas, or ask you questions to make you think about your character and their why they are the way they are.
oh yeah. We'll
Yeah,
eventually
I
get
found that a lot too.
we'll eventually get Vedis on here as well.
I feel like it's the heroes that are often the bigger jerks than the villains of
Yeah.
character.
I think it's because they want to be right, so like they're kind of convinced that they're like, yeah, my character is doing the right thing, so like, why are you trying to stop him?
Yeah, when righteousness turns into the high horse.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. So I have open Painkiller's bio on Hearseen on the stream. Was posted August 13th or August 12th, 2007. Do you want to take us through a trip through that real quick?
Yeah. So basically, he this bio looks virtually the same as when I kind of wrote it in 2005. I think is when I started, and I never really updated it that much. I would just add to the history, and that's like it. That picture I stole from someone. I'm sorry, whoever it is.
That was like a sketch that you had done,
Yeah.
or
No, it was the picture. I never had a picture for him until people on the site started drawing it for me, because my drawings are stick people, often in rude situations.
I feel you. I must comment on the profile picture. I have it pulled up. Um, that is. I feel like peak early 2000s Shin combat board RP character art type thing.
Oh,
Like that,
for sure.
that fits in so seamless. um, like how I picture a lot of the characters were. Even with like the ones with like actual anime playbys, like I don't know, Hiro Yui, I never pictured them
Oh.
as their actual anime characters. I picture them looking like this drawing, to be completely honest.
That's fair.
I would completely agree. Like but like I always pictured that, like that face was perfect. It was always perfect for PK, and then like the body was not, because he's goddamn massive. But
Hmm. Yeah, but that coat is top notch because again, remember, all antagonistic characters had a big old coat.
It's true.
yeah, everybody had a trench coat.
Yeah,
Well,
a
like
trench coat
the
or a duster or
the
something.
Matrix was huge at the time. So it's like if you didn't have a coat or a duster or something, a gocho or something, fucking, you were not the right character.
No,
So was this a picture of Painkiller that someone drew of Painkiller, or just something that you just found and ripped off?
this picture is one that I ripped off. The one that I have displayed there. I used to have a whole bunch of them like grouped together, of like fan art kind of thing, I guess. I wouldn't say fan art, it's more like stuff that I asked people to draw and they'd be like, yeah, okay. But I don't know where that picture went when Photo Bucket kind of shit the bucket.
Yeah. Well, from what I understand, a photo bucket is actually easier to navigate now than it used to be with all those ads and pop-ups.
Yeah.
But they
Photo
still,
Bucket, I used to be able to get into it. Now I'm like,
but they still watermark everything.
yeah.
Ryan, you wanted to hit your next question?
So I'm scrolling down all the way down through here to the family and stuff. Like I'm like, screw the history. Too long, didn't read. We'll probably go over that with Leon questions, anyways.
True.
So I'm gonna hit the hard hitting questions that people are actually wanting to know. Who would win in a fight, Mia Riddell or Trent Riddell, if they were fighting to the death?
Well, actually, if you read the history.
No, too long.
Trent did beat her. Um,
Ooh.
so Trent was my actual antagonistic character,
Mhm.
and I went completely opposite for him. So like, whereas PK was all like a big burly puncher kind of guy, Trent was like he did like breakdancing kicks and stuff like that, and he was basically as evil as I could figure out how to make him. So he was straight up a murderer. He uh, attempted to actually I don't even think it was attempt. He did rape his sister because he was like crazy. They were all crazy, but for different reasons.
I mean, just looking through like the family little write-ups here, like it's a very troubled family.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in it.
Yeah. It was also I was an edgy 17, 16-year-old. That's Trent's bio there. Because I actually made one for him.
Oh, jeez. All right, cool. And again, the avatar.
That
Perfect.
one was actually someone drew it for
So,
me.
so we actually do that one.
Yeah.
It's still a perfect fit in for Shin characters at that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
It's
Who was
perfect.
that? I think that was
Oh.
Steph.
Oh Lord, he was allies with Fist.
I fought. That's the person I fought. That was the only person I fought besides Kyukaku.
You were very unfortunate then. I would not say he was a good example of Shin 1.
Well,
I mean-
I will say it was a freaking super extreme difference fighting Fist and then fighting Kyukaku.
Yeah.
I never got past fighting Odin Reeves. I was just like, I'm done. I'm going back
That-
where it makes sense.
Oof.
Odin was also not what I would say is the shining standard of Shin 1.
Where was Bruce when we needed him to fight us?
Right.
Where was Bruce? That's a good question. Because, like, he was around on her scene as well. But I don't think he went to Paradigm.
Well, is this the same Bruce that Tyler adapted for Paradigm?
Yeah.
But Tyler was not the RPer for Bruce originally.
No. It was more like I want to say like an ode to Bruce. Like a tribute.
Okay.
Right on. I liked that Bruce, so I probably would have liked actual Bruce.
Actual Bruce, he was a wonderful guy, honestly. He couldn't write for shit, but he was a wonderful guy.
So like me.
Bruce,
All right,
if
cool.
you're ever listening to this, Bruce, much love.
I absolutely like I would 100% be like, this is a shout out to Bruce because he was an absolutely fantastic guy to just have around.
Well, that's okay, Bruce. If you're listening to this, I've been doing this for 15, 16 years, and I still can't write worse shit.
I mean, I would disagree with that. I think
I
that
would disagree.
spelling mistakes aside that you sometimes make that infuriate me. Listen, you can get add-ons to your browser with spell check.
I'm using Google Chrome. It automatically gives me spell check, but I still don't use it.
He just ignores it.
I ignore the
It's like,
red
"That's
lines.
a suggestion."
I've been
But,
spelling it this way since I was 15. Fuck you.
You do good characterizations, you do good plots, and you generally have a very cohesive vision of events and your scenarios. We've talked about like your GMing style, and you're better than you give yourself credit for.
Well, I appreciate that. We're gonna move away from Painkiller and hit Seth Calloway.
Oh boy.
I feel like this is the shining star, mostly because I know Seth Calloway from Paradigm, but we'll get into that. Do you want to take us on the wild ride that is Seth Calloway, real quick?
Seth was originally made to kind of make fun of the people who just make characters to just have like little date threads with someone else.
Okay. I've seen-
So I made him like super charming, but also like completely sociopathic because he was going to try and seduce Mei Lim, who was also a crazy lady. So I figured I would have to have a crazy guy who was like super charming and all this stuff in order to kind of have a chance with that.
And that would be successfully seduced Mei Lim, though, correct?
It did end up being successful. That's true. I'll always be proud of that.
Crazy like a fox.
Exactly.
But he's also the guy I get most complaints about in terms of being a Gary Stu,
A Gary Stew. Nice.
where people think he's too perfect because he's such a good fighter and he's charming and he's smart. I was just like, but he's supposed to be like. I always figured he was like, what would be a good analogy? Like Aizen from Bleach,
Right.
where he's not nearly like as powerful. Like I don't want to get that idea, but he was supposed to be like a mastermind who's like trying to play people, and then if you ended up fighting him, he's not just like a pushover. It's like, oh, that was anticlimactic.
Yeah, I mean he's trying to do the big brain plays.
Yeah,
Well,
and he
my introduction to Seth Calloway actually was on Paradigm when Seth killed Tyler or Kyukaku, and it was like a staged death or whatnot. Like crushed him with gravity.
that seems to also be a running theme with him is that he was also originally designed like after it was apparent that like we needed a villain. He was going to be a villain on Hircine at first,
Hmm.
and then somehow he became like an anti-hero because the setting itself was kind of very oppressive, and the fact that he was against that and like an anarchist was like, oh, this guy's a good guy to rally behind.
That happened with a lot of villains on both of the main Shinverse sites, I find, because of the universe that Shin takes place in. Like you said, it is very oppressive. It is very violent and bleak. So both the people that want to improve people's lives and people that just want to break down and burn the system really do fall on the same side, even though their methods are abhorrent to the other side.
Oh, absolutely. Like he ended up killing the principal at one point because he saw the whole thing as like a big game, and he was just going against the most powerful force in the school, which at the time was the principal and his like private army.
I have noticed a theme with not just Shin boards, but just the way stories progress on these forums is, well, usually high school combat forums. The principal's bad guy. If the principal isn't like your primary antagonist, they're gonna have some sort of fighting force that they hire and bring in to control the populace. And then eventually those forces will be defeated, and then the principal is like either a good guy or they're hiding the true bad guy.
I
So
think
can-
that's a return to the source material kind of though.
Yeah.
Back to the Shin.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's fair.
I will say missed opportunity. Probably not just for our RP boards, but also if they were ever going to do like a season 3 of Shin, that the true bad guy is the superintendent in the school board. It goes even higher.
Hey, this is a deep fake.
Just imagine, like, you have the dramatic thing and you kill the principal or whatever, and then freaking like the wall bursts down. It's like the superintendent just starts rolling his like ripped '90s sleeves up.
Just
With,
kicks in the door and knocks you flying. It's like, all right, boy, time for your beat.
each leg is basically as strong as the whole principal, and he's just like, ugh, I'm the super attendant. I put the super in attendant. Or something. I don't know. I mean, we were all teenagers, so something stupid like
Oh yeah,
that.
it for sure would have been.
I
dumb as
would not
shit.
be surprised.
I'm just saying, missed opportunity. Stephen Max, if you make a Shin season 3 ever, please bring in the superintendent, like a really ripped superintendent Chalmers, please and thank you.
and
That
the
was-
and the super captain.
Yes, the like super duper captain or ultra hyper form captain,
Yes.
Ultra Captain.
ultra instinct captain, right? So Shaggy.
Closes
Yes.
his eyes and he just starts dodging everything.
But
Mhm.
when he finally defeats the superintendent, he has to say something like, "That was only 10% of my power."
You know, I really wish back during the Shin days of RPing that I had watched and that it had been available Kenichi, because boy, I would have stolen so many things from Kenichi.
So much.
Yeah,
Kenichi
Kenichi
was-
was really good.
Fucking great.
I would have just stolen everything from Kenichi. Like, wow, this guy's really good at fighting. Holy cow! I'm like, thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm learning from my manga.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Did you know any fighting or anything like that before Hircine, or did you learn any just for the fight RP? Because you guys were really realistic.
I was one of the few people who probably had like really no training whatsoever
Hmm.
for fighting. Like the most I had was like I had a white belt as a kid in karate, and like I took boxing, but that was like well after I had started role playing.
Right on.
I'm just blown away by how much more training Adam has than I do in fighting.
And to be
I
fair,
don't know, man. Street fights don't count.
I know you don't tuck your thumb into your fist and clench your fingers around your fist when you throw a punch. That's about what I know in real life.
good enough, I
Well,
guess.
most of it, like, you just kind of learn from reading other people's stuff too,
Yeah.
That's how I did it.
Adaptation.
or just building a really big fucking character so that whenever you're getting hit, you're just like, okay, I tackle you.
Matthew's main thing, one of his for a very long time, is he would take the hit and then he would grab you when you hit him. And
Exactly,
Then you down.
exactly. PK would throw out a palm strike, and then people would be like, I block it. And he's like, okay, I grabbed you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've fallen prey to that quite a few times.
hmm
Ryan, you want to do your next question?
So I don't have a lot to talk about Seth when it comes to Hircine. I guess I would ask. So, of all of your characters on Hircine, why did you choose to bring Seth as your main quest NPC staff person over to Paradigm when we shifted into the future to Paradigm? Like, why him? Why wasn't Painkiller like Tyler's right hand man there, hanging out with Dane?
Well, when you go to Paradigm, we had another site in between, which was Chula Vista,
hmm
and that site had like the very last storyline was this thing called the map tournament, and the idea was whoever won the tournament would get injected with the map, which was the serum that gave people superpowers.
hmm
And basically, I ended up winning that tournament with PK, and then the board died, and then everyone was like, "Okay, well, we're gonna reboot it into what ended up being Paradigm," and for some reason, Tyler stole my tournament victory.
Oh,
Ended up being the one who was injected with the first serum and kicked off that whole storyline and blah 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 blah. But I didn't want PK as part of Paradigm because, frankly, he was too dumb. Honestly, like he would be there and he would just get into fights, and that was it. And I already had like non-quest characters because I didn't want to do any of the GMing until I had seen how Tyler and Tex Ryan were doing it. So when it was finally my turn, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna come up with like a kind of like betrayal story, and the easiest character to do with that with was Seth.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
Yeah.
It's fair.
Yeah, I was on Chula Vista as well as Paradigm, but I joined Chula Vista when it first started. Uh, did a little bit there, and then I believe they were talking about the tournament, and that's when I bounced because I think something was going on. I can't remember exactly. Uh, and then I came back one day and I was talking to somebody. He's like, "Hey, have you seen Paradigm?" I think it was Ryan actually, and I was like, "Nope, no idea what that is." Um, and as soon as I went over, it's like, "What? The Collective? I already have this. I have a profile."
Well, yeah, 'cause it was originally the Chula Vista Collective. We had the O'Hare Academy, I think. No, it was O'Hare University, I believe. The Henry Knox Academy, which was a military style academy.
hmm
And then there was something else.
There was John C. Fremont High School.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an alright board. It does not rank anywhere near what my highest ones would be honest.
No, I think it's definitely more valuable as the kickstart for the world and universe of Paradigm than it ever was on its own board.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I remember. Yeah, I remember specifically. Chula Vista was my first letter grade statistic board.
Yep.
Yeah, we had tried to find a compromise between the statters and the non-statters.
Yeah, it was my first semi-statted board, and I hated it.
I didn't hate it. It was just I had to get used to it. So I did what I usually do: is I made a brainless fighting machine. Uh, and I just started fighting random people to see what the spread was, see how everybody treated the letters, and after a while it started to make sense. But it wasn't like my jam because I was like, how do I get stronger? And they're like, you just don't. I was like, oh, all right, well, peace.
Yeah, it was more designed as like guidelines, I guess,
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, if you're coming from a stat board, this kind of like helps you realize, this is where I stack up to this person.
Yeah.
But like it was also more like RP1 where it's like, okay, if you want to do better, just do better. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea between like your character and my character, we have a foot race and then we arm wrestle, but we're both really fast and really strong. So like, how do you just like? Do we just go back and forth like, oh no, 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 my character's just so strong that he's straining and just pushes further and
Yeah. Like I
so it
grabbed
was
the
context.
I grabbed the
Yeah.
table and used it for leverage and shit like that.
That's cheating.
Yeah,
It is. It's very cheap.
Automatically.
it is, but that's how you win.
I kicked the other guy's knees out and slammed his hand down.
I think that was a big thing too. Was it was always hard for like staters to kind of come to non-stat and non-stat to go to stats because there was always like that weird disconnect, right? And there was always like shitty people on both sides who kind of ruined it for everyone.
Yeah.
Shout out to Shamina, who was shitty on both sides.
Oh, he was too. Oh my god.
Yo, that guy lives in my town.
I'm sorry.
I've never met him except for the one time he was like, "Hey, can you pick me up and buy me some smokes?" And I'm like, "No, I don't really know you."
Nice.
Awkward.
Of course he smokes. So like on 552, Shimino fucking dogged everyone. I don't use stats, so on and so forth. Which apparently
Of course
pissed,
he did.
which of course pissed Faust off. And Faust went over to Hircine, I think, and made a thread to try and fight people to, I don't know, prove a point or something. He was pissed. I don't know. I read it the other day, and then the thread got closed because it turned into an out of character argument.
No, I remember that was a big fight between both boards. I remember Kaiva and Hinalmic tried to like make peace between both sides.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, shut the hell up. And people were both like, hey, Bishop's cool though. Don't tell Bishop to shut up.
Was that her scene?
Yeah, that was Hircine. I can probably grab the
Fuck,
thread again.
Yeah, I don't even remember that. 'Cause I was reading some old ones and it was like fucking Shimino being a turd and being like, oh, look at this bio and blah blah blah. And it's like everyone's fighting about stats and non-stats. And
Yeah.
there was another thread about like Leon being like, or not Leon, fucking Liam being like, hey, I want to do a Brosboard tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about fucking stats. Let me worry about that. But what do you guys think? And then everyone's like, but what about the stats? And he's like, fine, fuck you guys.
You know, I think a crossboard tournament would have been really interesting. I would have been curious to see how Liam would assign stats to the statless players to give them an equivalent level of strength to the statted players to make it a fair, even fighting ground. I think that would have been really interesting if people were willing to trust him as being impartial.
Right.
Yeah, like I would have been all for it, but like the way I would have done it personally is just be like, okay, I'm gonna look at your builds and your bios and be like, okay, you're 300 pounds and 6'2", so obviously, and you work out all the time, so obviously you have high strength but low dexterity or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
And just kind of match it up compared to other people who were already existing.
What,
Yeah, I mean, we definitely would have been able to provide people like, here's Matthew, this is what a Constitution build looks like. Here's Leon, this is what a speed build looks like, etc. And then just kind of use those as bases.
Yeah, and then like have like kind of a set amount of points to work with.
Here's Jimothy with a charisma build that's useless. Don't do it.
pretty much. Well, like I had a talk with Tyler one time about a crossboard kind of like tournament from 259 to Hircine because they were around at the same time. And he was like, well, how would you give the statless character stats and so on and so forth? Because I wanted some people to fight on Hircine and some people to fight on 259. And I said,
Yeah.
well, it would have been pretty easy because you guys have post counts. I have stat cap ranged post counts, and we do it without items. So we could show you builds, the average range of experience for somebody at that post count, so on and so forth, and we'd go that way. And Tyler was like, no, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, oh, okay.
I mean, you guys could have even gone as far as to figure out how many fights his Painkiller had. Okay, so here's the EXP he would have earned.
Yeah.
Like I would get that, but like I think the easiest, like absolute easiest way to do it is just to be like, okay, everybody has a character. Here's the stat caps, like for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You have so many points. Make your character. Then
Everyone-
it's
everyone
all
got 100
completely
points.
fair.
Everyone
Yeah.
got 100 points. Do your thing.
Exactly. Then just work from there.
Yeah, that would have been fair.
Yeah.
You know, people might have complained, but the fact is you would still be able to make your build.
Yeah, you could still make your guy however you want.
That
Like,
makes sense.
sure, you're not getting your quest rewards and post counts for spamming shit like I did once and
Yeah.
regret. But
And for the non-statters, I mean, using a number like 100, that shows a percent. So like what percent, and if we took out all the mental stats and listed it just to physical, like, so what percentage of your physical abilities is strength, speed, and just durability? Bam.
Yeah. Easy.
Yeah, sure enough.
I wonder how many people would have had the 33-point spread. Like, I'm balanced.
You sure are.
Here
What
it
are you going
is.
to do with the extra point? Doesn't matter at this point. 1 point's not going to make a difference in any of these stats.
Alright, I found the thread. Here we go. some good old fashioned Faust making a character, not reading a goddamn thing to come and make trouble on here scene.
Ah, those were the days.
Yeah, and I also ran across the fight that I had with Vist while I was looking for this, and all I remember is like by the end of it, Shimino fucking PMing me and being like, "God, you suck. Why are you even here? You're from 552, aren't you?" I'm like, yeah, I fucking, sorry.
Oh, this fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to all the deleted accounts in this thread.
Right.
I like the big bold. You God modded, accept it.
Yeah, the fuck Faust was the character. Mm. Oh look, the other Leon who was there before me, but is still called the other Leon.
Because he vanishes so much.
You'd think with my history of vanishing it'd be the same.
Oh no, he was born to disappear.
Born to flake.
But he's a good guy too. John, don't hate me.
Oh.
Again, so many missed opportunities. I
Mhm.
feel like looking back.
Oh yeah, hardcore missed opportunities. I wanted some of them so bad. Because I was getting tired of fighting all the people on 552, 'cause it's the same people all over and over again, and I was like, there's another Shin board. And then Shimano basically flaming me to quit. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I am a piece of trash. And then I left.
No, I just like how he comes to the stat board, gets bonk, and I listened to the first podcast, so I guess shout out to Shugo's call for bonk. Got bonked to just assign him like school captain, and then Shimino's like, you can only challenge me for the title of school captain if it's a statless fight, and here's a whole bunch of other arbitrary rules, and also you have to attack first.
Yep.
Yeah, he conveniently never fought me.
Oh, you also couldn't use the normal stretched like comic book physics of the site. You had to also do it realistic, which is not the site style of the board.
Yeah.
Which I feel is my fault, honestly.
No, it happened before you.
Good. Because that was one thing I felt bad about, because everybody was like, we fight realistically here too. And then I was like, but I just read a thread where Oroth and Ark fought while jumping on top of big wooden poles.
I mean, I remember.
That's super realistic.
I remember James throwing flaming freaking baseballs. So
Look, we went over James's fire gloves in the last podcast. I don't want to do it again. Fucking Burn Griff still gets me.
everything with Hinomic's Menagerie Gang and Novocaine and Raisling.
That's fair.
How about it's taking place in New York City, but we're all like in the woods, and there's like a cabin that some of us are like living in and stuff, with a chandelier and like I mean it was not realistic. The site was not realistic.
Hey.
We were a bunch of teenagers.
We built that cabin.
We did.
Anyway.
But in what woods?
Right. Some national park. Just fucking cut down a bunch of trees and put a cabin there. Nobody will know. Google Maps comes out. Shit, they found us.
Like that.
Did you want to get your next question in there?
Oh, I thought you were up because I've got like
Oh,
a million.
my bad.
Yeah, because I brought Paradigm, and then we kind of sidetracked.
That's true. So, from Varen and Hircine and Chula and all of the sites so far, you've gone from statless to semi-statted to statless again, but with powers, to stats with powers. What was the transition like? Was it daunting, or was it just kind of something you had to dump yourself into?
For a long time, I I told everyone I wasn't joining Paradigm. 'Cause I was like, I'm not doing superpowers. I'm not doing, you know, not realistic stuff. And then eventually, I did show up, but it took like weeks and weeks. And then it was the same with Chula Vista because I didn't want to do the letter grade, so I didn't join for a long time. And then when I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna join 259 because I'm pretty sure Ryan invited me.
Yep. Yes, I did.
Yep.
And then I was like, but I don't know how to do stats. And like there was like a big long conversation of him helping me kind of like figure out how to work with stats and how to build a character and
How to game the system.
yeah.
Learned that one really well.
That wasn't really me. You just kind of gave me everything, and I was like, okay.
Oh no, I meant how to game it, like getting your stats and how many posts you need to have in a fight for it to be considered. And no, I definitely gave you a bunch of items because I had more items than I could equip.
Well, yeah, you also
And
got to
I'm
look at
not-
like how old our accounts are and the money and
Yeah.
like we had so much shit just sitting on the side. It's like, I like this build, but I have 16 other build options because of all these items.
Well, I mean, even when I joined 259 as like Elias, there was like the rewards for just getting like a basic item. Basic items 2 months in were just useless.
Yeah.
I had all these better items already, and I was like, okay, can I just give this away? I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the items that you can buy and or just have as a basic were never going to compare to event items.
Which was good, but like kind of unfortunate at the same way.
Yeah.
Like I like the idea of like maybe breaking them down to get components to upgrade your items or whatever.
Which we finally have now. Fucking
Finally, the
14.
dream is realized.
right, 14 years and we're still doing new shit.
Well, you also got to balance like how much of your time you're gonna spend on people upgrading their stuff.
Ugh. Yeah, I know. Anyway, so it was somewhat daunting, you would say, and until
was-
you did it.
It was daunting, even though it shouldn't have been, because it was actually really easy to get into it. But like, it was like I had just kind of built it up and been like, no man, this is gonna be too hard. I'm too used to doing it my way. I don't want to do it.
That being said, it is still inherently unfair for new players. Like the power gap is.
Oh yeah, extreme.
Yeah, I mean, like, when you join a stat board that's been going any length of time, basically you just go there and lose over and over and over again. Like, you can't expect to go in and be like, hey, this guy kind of sucks, but I can't beat him because his stats are 5 times mine. It's just not working.
Yeah, and there's only like 3 or 4 ways to adjust that, and only one of them is a long-term fix. The rest of it is kind of like, okay, we're gonna fix this for 6 months.
Yeah.
We're gonna reboot, reset stats, whatever's gonna happen, and it's just gonna be like, okay, 6 months later, everybody's gonna be the same again, or stronger, or there's still gonna be a gap if a new person joins.
Yeah, I know we were briefly talking about the idea of like what kind of catch-up mechanics could be implemented, like MMOs use.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's easier to swallow on a PvE board. When it's a PvP focused board, then that
Then
gets
it's awful.
you get a lot of people really PO'd on all sides of that equation.
Yeah, that's why we had to shift 259 to primarily PvE, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was great, honestly.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I really like what you did with things. Even before Cabal,
Yeah.
Just like with the war and the actual post-apocalypse stuff, with the light PvP elements of like the player-made gangs
Yeah.
wrestling for control of the city.
I tried. I always have this video game perspective on things. It's like if I were playing this as a video game, what kind of side game or mini games would I want to do? What kind of interaction would I want to have? And then I end up just throwing the bare jeans fucking idea at people, and they're like, okay, yeah, that sounds kind of cool. And I'm like, okay, input time, and then only like Ryan and one other person would give me input. While excellent input, I'm still like, okay, I needed more than this because all I have is they fight. So,
Hey, to be fair, when it came to the gang system, me and Ark sat down and made like 8 different NPC gangs, all their own powers, themes, and like special abilities and stuff.
that's true.
Special shout out for the Dragoons, which would jump really high, and they used so much hairspray that their heads were like helmets, that their hair was like helmets with their pompadours and stuff.
I remember that. That was great.
Major shout out.
Beautiful.
It was great times. I liked it. Uh, Still like what's going on now since I don't have to run anything. Fucking A.
I'm sure that's a plus.
I'm just fucking relaxing being a player. Anyway, Ryan, you got another question?
Oh, I've got so many. All right, so,
So
Adam,
many.
not counting any of your own characters,
Ooh.
which character of all of the boards that you've been on would you say that you are the biggest fan of?
Ooh.
Of all of the boards.
All of the boards that you've been on. Well, let's say all of the boards like in this loose Shinverse that we're talking about. If you've been on like a Harry Potter board or Dragon Ball Z board, like those will not count for this. But in this Shinverse that this podcast is focusing on, other than your own characters, which single character would you say that you were the biggest fan of?
Whose OnlyFans do you have?
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably narrow it down per board, but like of all time is fucking that's rough.
I mean, if you want to do it by board, you can. I just didn't want to make you like think of like 10 different people either.
Yeah.
But now I
I-
mean who your favorite Chula Vista person is.
Oh, my favorite Chula Vista person was Alexis,
Okay.
because she was like this badass girl who would like beat people up and she didn't give a shit.
Right on.
On Varen, I would say my favorite was Dane Gavins, because he was the one who basically got me into role playing. Was watching his fight with Marcus, and I was reading it and it was like this cage fight, and I was like, this is really fucking cool. And so I ended up joining like 3 days later after reading that thread.
Right on.
Nice.
Her scene, I would say probably Kazuki. He was, I just ran into him all the time. Like his storyline and my stuff would like constantly intertwine and stuff, and he was a really good writer. Like I really enjoyed reading his stuff. Um, 42 probably doesn't count because I didn't do anything there.
That wasn't really. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess I would keep it to like the main ones that were like around for more than a month.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, like I made a bio there. That's where I made Marcus, and then just left immediately.
There were a lot of sites that never made it off the ground.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because everybody wants to like make their own spin-off and be like, you know what, I can do this better, and a lot of the times the player base is too
Thinned out.
small for that to happen.
Yeah, there's not a really robust fan community of this 20-year-old Flash nowadays.
Yeah, you're really not gonna get a bunch of new people jumping in.
Yeah, you had to do it at the right time and have the right draw. Like you had to be different than the others in a specific
Yeah.
way that people liked. Uh, and I guess you needed to be angry enough, really.
Oh God, yeah.
A lot of people need to be angry enough because again, it's like why like I've already got all of this stuff going here. I need to leave everything I've already sunk all this time and energy to for something new.
God,
Even with the idea of like transferring, which a lot of the stat boards did,
yeah.
you're still all of these stories and plots and characters and relationships I put time into. I'm not necessarily going to carry along with me, and I'm losing all of that by leaving.
Mhm.
Yeah, you lose all your progress basically and all your development.
Mhm.
It's just like, why bother?
Even if I get to carry over my arbitrary numbers.
I'm doing fine right here.
Pretty much. I do have to give a quick shout out to Paradigm, because looking at the stats here, total topics, 5,971. Total posts, 310,607. And we
Mhm.
go back to 259, and its total threads 9,503, which is about 4,000-ish more. But total posts is only 246,919. So Paradigm had over 50,000 posts more.
They've only been around for 5 years, and they've been dead for like 2 of them.
Yep.
If Paradigm was a highlight for sure, like those weekly assignments and stuff where you'd have like 15 people rapidly posting in those real-time events.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm sure that built it up really fast.
Absolutely, and the comic book style that you guys went with the post, so that it was one-liners and it felt very snappy. It made it very easy to not only spam posts, but for anyone to just jump into the action and not feel intimidated.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was very
Yeah,
that.
I remember actually that was one of the things when we started Paradigm was I was like, there's no way I can go down to like really short posts. I'm so used to these novels that I write every time.
Right, exactly.
And Tyler's like, no, we're not doing that. I'm not reading anything beyond like the first 4 lines. I'm like, fine. But now I can't write long posts anymore because I'm too used to this.
Like, I can if I sit down with a snack, a drink, and a fucking good song. Or even well, it has to be a good playlist now because it takes me longer than 5 minutes to write a big ass post. But I'm still prone to tiny, this is the details, deal with it posts. Because I don't need to.
Yeah, but like that, it's more work at that point. It's not like I'm sitting down and just relaxing, whipping out these posts kind of thing. It's more like I gotta commit to this post and make it long and good.
I remember at the height of my elitism phase where I was looking at one of my posts and it was only 3 paragraphs and I was like, this isn't good enough, and I deleted the whole fucking thing. Ended up being 6 paragraphs and I was like, it'll do, but I'm out of it today. And I remember thinking that, and now that I'm older and have more wisdom, I guess, I'm like, you were stupid, kid.
We all were.
Yeah, everybody had their like inner monologue of everything they're thinking. This is what I had for breakfast as they're fucking throwing their punches.
Right? Is he wearing a tie? Who wears a fucking tie?
To be fair, that one's fair. That one's a fair. In high school, like who the
Yeah, who wears a tie in high school other than the Keener kids?
The first time I fought Jester, he was wearing a fucking red tie, and I remember having Leon say that. His inner monologue. Who wears a fucking tie? Sorry.
fucking
He deserves it.
Don't get Leon started on Jester.
No, we'll move away from that topic for today. We don't need rage. That'll be a whole hour and a half on its own.
Easy.
So let's move to past Jack here, Jack Michaela.
Oh,
I
Jack.
don't think it's pronounced Michaela, is it?
It is pronounced Michaela, actually.
Really? I always thought it was like Macaulay.
Nope. It is a lady's name.
Well, today I learned.
And we went over this in the last in the last stream about how everyone pronounces a fucking name just slightly different.
Oh yeah, like I mean, even earlier today we were calling Shamino Shamano.
Yeah.
I was like, that sounds weird to me, but
Yeah.
it could be right. I don't know. I never
mean,
talked to him to be like, how do you say your name?
Because I know Kim refers to him as Shamu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were kind of close for a while, but I don't know.
Joyce says I thought it was Makala. Or no, Michaela. Okay, yeah. Michaela?
Kyla.
Michaela.
Kyla.
Mo-
I can see
More
it.
Japanese, less girl's name.
It was intended to be Michaela.
Hey,
But,
I pronounced
yeah,
something right?
Jack was, I guess, one of my more popular characters,
Yeah.
I think.
People liked him.
I mean, Sarah's really did. Eve really liked them.
Goddamn,
He-
kid.
Yeah.
10,000 posts.
Oh, just with that account alone.
Just with this account. Alright, walk us through this Caucasian Irish.
So Jack was designed. He was actually originally going to be part of another board that never happened.
Oh,
But it was also like a post-apocalyptic thing. So
well,
I
that
kind of
sounds
reworked it and made him into this one.
familiar.
Yeah. But it was actually very familiar because like I'm pretty sure there was like a center city that like had all the technology and all the guns and stuff like that, and then outside of it everything was like post-apocalyptic and ruins. Very familiar.
Mm. What about this Jack of Blades nickname? How did we come across that?
So Jack, his big thing is he's fucking crazy, like, but he takes meds to be normal. And it's because he has like past trauma kind of thing, where he was captured and drugged, and then when his dad saved him, he was like hallucinating, so he accidentally stabbed him and ended up killing him. And he always kind of blamed himself for that, and really really hated himself. So like he cut himself, and he would act like a dog because he thought it was easier than being a person. But one of his things was he was really good with blades, so he was really good with like knives and things like that, and he would later on go on to like carry razor blades with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, he would end up using that in combination with his electricity power. So like he would throw the blade and then like shoot it to like ricochet his electricity around corners and shit like that.
Right on.
I just hear Leon going, "Damn it! I never thought of that."
Pretty much. I always like.
He also had a move where like he would basically take a small metal sphere and put it between his hands and then like shoot it like a rail gun.
I did think of
Just,
that.
like, yeah.
I like talking to other people that have characters that did electric powers and seeing how we do it different. Shugo also had electric powers on the 552 reboot,
Oh yeah.
and fighting him with a person with electric powers and then his electric powers are all just sorely different. It was just really interesting to try and incorporate new moves into superpowers, basically.
You know, I was always really disappointed in every person that had electricity as a power, because I never once saw them use like the fucking static shock disc to like fly
Uh,
and around, skateboard around.
I wanted to, but I was always like, but Leon would never. Maybe
Yeah,
a
I was always
pizza,
like, Jack doesn't want to fly.
maybe a pizza pan, like a big one.
Right?
God.
Trash can lid, freaking manhole cover. You lift up the manhole cover with the electricity to fly on it. You see evil dragon god hiding in the manhole. Would have been perfect thread.
Speaking of, he's on the list of people for interviews.
Of course he is.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, Paul.
Good times.
I like how he joined every site as evil dragon god.
Oh yes.
I mean, if that's what you're known as.
Yeah,
That's what you gotta do.
it was his identity. He's a pretty cool guy though. I think he's a mailman, right?
Yeah, he works in the post office. Or for the post.
Nice.
You're next up on the questions, Rye.
Yeah. So okay. So now we're gonna go to all of your characters from the main sites that we've talked about today.
Ooh.
Though of course you can also add in Koal that we haven't really reached that much yet.
Okay.
So you put them all in a battle royale. They're all fighting each other all at the same time. Who's the one that wins and survives at the end?
Seth.
Gravity power is pretty OP.
It is strong.
He would basically let them fight each other and then just kind of stay out of it until everyone else is beat up.
And then
With
come
the
out with his
power-
OP power.
Elias, because I feel like Elias would have survived pretty well in that battle royale.
That's not including Elias, but the only issue is Seth had a habit of being like, if he can't beat you, he just sends you into space. Like that's what he did with Will, who was like super strong. He was just like, okay, enjoy the sky, and he was just gone.
That's perfect.
Because actually, I think you were playing Will at that time, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And he was just like, yeah, you're entirely too tanky for me, so get out of here.
Yep. I know I had a plan for if Seth ever fought Matthew, because Matthew's a lot like Seth in the thinking kind of department.
Yeah.
Although definitely a tank build. Since Seth can manipulate gravity, Matthew would have just made sure he was always tethered to the ground by like having the earth wrapped around his legs, and he would just be able to shift through that way
Okay.
using his powers. So like, you can make me weightless all you want. This is still coming at you, and if it's all connected to the earth, it's got nowhere to fly. So that's how I would have done, because I was always wondering when I did the Matthew arc on Paradigm, if any of the people would have thrown in their staff characters, and they did. Dane and the Dane squad.
Mm-hmm.
Of course he did. He
So-
doesn't have regular characters.
I'm just saying. So I was coming up with things for all of them. Like, okay, how would I deal with this person? How would I deal with this? But I gave special thought to Seth because, again, it cannot be overstated. Gravity powers are fucking OP as hell.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean like I had to keep myself from doing what I had done in previous threads, from just like, okay, he increases the gravity of just your head, so you break your neck.
Yeah.
But I remember actually when you were doing that, that was around the time that I had Seth get his special phone that I ended up using in a different thread. Because I was like, okay, well, if he figures out a way around Seth's power, I want to have a backup. And it was just the phone would like electrocute whoever was holding it.
I love it.
Perfect.
So he ended up doing that in Tyler's Sons of Judas thing, where he was like, "Oh, I have bad luck powers, so your stuff doesn't work. And I was like, okay, can you make a phone call? And just fucking electrocuted him.
So, kind of a side question since you brought up the Sons of Judas. Out of character, did you feel bad about having Hector shoot himself in the head?
Oh god, no. That that was probably like, well, okay, so it wasn't really me who had him do that. That was another Tyler idea because I had wanted the Sons of Judas to have a leader that wasn't me playing it. So I gave him the whole idea for Sebastian, and then he was like, "Okay, well, what are we doing with Hector?" Because for some reason he's like, "Yeah, I'll come with you, Seth." And I was like, "But why?" And then he was like, "Okay, well, what are we gonna do with this guy?" And I was like, I guess give him the initiation." He's like, "What's the initiation?" I was like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Okay, here's a gun. If you shoot yourself, then you fail." And he's like, "Okay, I'll shoot myself. It's a loyalty test, right?" And then he just killed himself. I was like, "I don't think you have any idea what the Sons of Judas are about." Okay.
Now, did you ever wish that it wasn't Hector that shot himself, but instead his voodoo guy with like the totems instead?
I think at that point. Oh no, yeah. Because he had another voodoo guy that died to the Dragon Dynasty because he just walked into the enemy base and was like, "Hey, I'm here to fight you, Tao," and then they just murdered him.
Oh god, that sounds like classic Rick.
Yeah. But yeah, his other guy, Rex. I don't know. I didn't really care. He blew up anyway, so
Right on. Um,
which was kind of mean, but we rolled it, and he rolled badly, so
the luck of the dice.
yeah.
The fate of the dice are sometimes just fucking horrible.
Well, it's also like if you make really bad decisions, like
Yeah, that's true.
going to an evil guy to be like, "Hey, build me a super suit," and then you put on the super suit and wear it, maybe you're gonna die at some point from this suit.
Well, not everybody can become a super cyborg like a Fano.
Oh, fucking Afano.
So here's a question of your years of experience. Uh, what out of character drama that, I mean, I know you said you weren't really a part of any specifically, but I know you've probably heard of a lot of it. What out of character drama shaped the way you played the most?
I guess in terms of like the earliest drama, there was a guy who went by King on Shin RP1, and he had like a whole. I always kind of looked at him as like almost an unofficial mentor because he recruited my character into his gang, and like he was a really good fighter and stuff. So like I would read his threads and kind of pick up tips and stuff like that. But he ended up leaving because he was mad over something about like other people weren't reacting like properly in character to things that were happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so when he left, there was a massive kind of gap in what was happening with the board storyline because he was really driving the storyline at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I kind of had to make Seth kind of step up and start pushing the storyline afterwards.
God, that sounds familiar.
And it kind of made me think like, okay, I gotta pay attention more to like uh, how other people are acting and how they're like kind of uh, reacting to the general storyline of the board, and you know, if there's a thing going on where like if you start a fight, the private security is going to come and beat you up, like I might kind of, PM that person and be like, hey, just so you know, this is likely what's going to happen with what your threat is doing.
Hmm.
So I think maybe it made me a little bit more active, I guess, in the community as a whole.
Right
If
on.
that
Right.
makes
That
sense.
that does make sense. It also reminds me of the rise of Jimothy Clavish, because
Oh,
we had major board storyline going, which was the second 552 war, and both the antagonist and protagonist, the main two figureheads, fucking bounced, and so everyone was like, "Well, the all of our characters are really invested in this war, and we have no leaders." And then, poof, uh, bad guy leader. Poof, Jimothy Clavish, good guy leader. And everyone was like, "All right, cool. This is how we're doing this."
who ironically pulled one of the people from the bad guy's side to be his second in command for the good guys.
Yep.
Good old Wyatt.
Yeah, your egg there for Thorn.
Yep.
Ah, what a beautiful name. I hope I haven't tarnished his name.
No, I think Wyatt would have liked Thorn.
Yeah.
Wyatt was a very inquisitive person who wanted to understand and know everything and observe just the fun and learn the fundamental truths of the universe. In real life, the guy is a genetic scientist now.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, smartest guy on all of these boards probably.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Super chill guy. He also had some kind of gravity powers,
Yes.
but he would like form them in like orbs. So he would like hit you with it, so you could dodge his gravity stuff.
Yeah. He would.
Yeah.
Since
He,
it's PvP and not like Paradigm
Yeah.
PvE.
yeah, he would also do the minor gravity wells basically to push and pull objects and himself. So
Yeah.
it was really strategic gravity.
And he
Okay.
used Alucard as his playby, and yes, he wore the hat and the glasses and the coat everywhere.
Yeah.
In character,
Attaboy.
canon,
Attaboy.
midnight strolling down there with those gloves, that hat, that everything.
Yep. For 6 years, he didn't take that fucking hat off.
Yep.
Never took the glasses off.
I'm proud of that man already.
Didn't he only take the hat off as he was saying his goodbyes to Jimothy when they did the funeral?
Yes.
Like it's not like the only thing he took it off because it was like a sign of respect at a funeral.
That-
But yeah, the glasses were still on, as was the coat and the gloves.
Yeah. That was the
Jim is
only time he took the hat
funeral.
off.
Jimothy had a few funerals.
Yeah, he did. It's the Jimothy Clavish from Paradigm is canonically the same Jimothy Clavish that died on 552.
Yes.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Basically, the body was dug up since he was an orphan and a minor. You know, he didn't. There was no one to pay for his funeral, so it went to a municipal cemetery, or was supposed to. Um, but instead, the body was diverted and used in early map programs. So that's where he was. That's where like Alpha, Beta, and all of them were. And he was the final one in the experiment where they fused him with some of Alpha's DNA, since Alpha could take and remove life. So they were trying to see what would happen with like genetic mixing of different map people, and that's what brought him back to life. And he just couldn't stay dead. But since it was everything with the imperfect serums, their side effects, that's where the more he would die, the more memories he would lose until he eventually just becomes another person.
Okay.
So, but yeah, canonically, it's the same one that died in 259, which is why it was so fun for me when he met Leon,
Yep.
because they were really good friends in 552.
It was a good thread.
And Leon's like, You died. Like, I was at your funeral. I was like, I've died a lot. You get used to them.
I still think that this was my favorite funeral.
Which one was your favorite? Oh, let's see. Oh God,
Ah,
it was another Jimothy funeral.
yup.
So what made that your favorite? I gotta ask since
Uh,
it's my character.
Mostly because Marcus had a speech,
That's you know what? That's fair. That is so fair.
and because he called him Tim.
That's also reasonable. Jimothy is the stupidest name. Which when during my interview, I will probably have to go over the history of where the name Jimothy Clavish came from.
Yep.
Where he
There-
fused together with a Tim.
no,
Timothy.
it actually has a story
Yep. There's meaning.
from my real life.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, there's actually a thing behind the whole Jimothy Clavish
And
thing.
and Indrin.
Yeah, and Endrin. Um. So yeah,
that whole post is just. I hate tooting my own horn, but I thought it was really funny.
oh God, Marcus.
uh,
Marcus was a fun character. I actually enjoyed Marcus.
Marcus was like the dumbest thug that I could ever make.
What about Vlad?
Though he was okay. Vlad was dumb, but Marcus, he was lucky because he also became like a celebrity,
Yeah.
and that just made it worse.
it is.
He was a perfect wingman. He told me that if he were to die before me, that he wanted all of his friends to chip into a charity in his name. So I'll pass this around. You guys can throw in some cash if you really liked him. Oh, sorry, I meant Jim. Goodbye, Jim. You still owe me money, but I'm sure we can settle up when I go.
Perfect.
Brings a tear to my eye.
Best friends.
No, I actually really like the idea of Jimothy having a funeral, considering how many times he died, and like just the one time he didn't get back up.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really interesting subversion.
But then he ended up getting up anyway.
I know. That was some other stuff, and then there was Evil Jim, Jim 2.
Jim too,
Yep,
part of the Empire.
yep. Well, not really. Remember, he was in jail. Um, he was a prisoner. The reason he went like bad is because Jack insisted on bringing Saris to and sparing her from like the Revolution's judgment and bringing her to this other universe. And he tried to stop him as like Jack is like smashing his skull with his boot, and he's just like holding on and gets transported to this universe.
Yeah, and then he ended up joining the Empire.
Oh yeah, the Chthonic Empire. Jim Stanbul, not Constantinople.
It is your turn, right, guy?
All right. Well, let's see. So, what are you looking for in an RP board nowadays? Like, what are you hoping to find or RP or do? What does the future look like for Adam?
Uh, honestly, I would say something that would most interest me would be something where. Okay, so I really liked how 259, for example, was. I found it was really good at making you feel like you were the hero of your own story, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like how even though there's like an overarching kind of storyline that everyone has their own that's just as important kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
That kind of really appeals to me, along with the whole idea of like, building up like your own kind of territory or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's why I had originally attempted to make my own board and then realized that I'm far too lazy to do that. Cause like I had I'd made some maps and I wrote some lore, and then I was like, I don't have time to do this because it's going to work. And I was, doing D&D on the side and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But I
life
don't know, something like that would be really, really cool.
life
Um,
life really gets in the way.
It
yeah.
does. It was a lot easier when we were all high school kids, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh god, yeah.
Leaving my Skype on with my speakers on full blast so that any message would wake me up immediately.
Explains so much.
Yeah, I used to live in the basement, and I just fucking stay up till 5 in the morning and then skip class.
So my mom knew all of the stuff that was going on all of these boards and would like ask me about the characters, and not just mine. And would always tell me to say hi to Shugo and to Leon and
Mhm.
them. And every once in a while she'd ask like, "So whatever happened with Shugo and this going on?" And like a plot point from the board.
Mhm.
My mom was pretty cool about that. Like I shout out to my mom, I guess.
Shout out to Ryan's mom.
My friends in fucking high school, we used to act out the tournaments, like the fights, to
Oh my-
like kind of show how fucking impossible some of these moves were. Where like I'd be reading it and they'd be like kind of like slow-mo acting it out, and I'd be like, see, there's no way he can fucking bend his arm to fucking elbow this guy in the face. Those good times.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
We do have a question from chat. What's one of your most memorable in-character moments from any of these boards?
I guess in terms of like older boards, I would say probably finally beating Kazuki, because that was fucking. I fought him like 4 times and then like beat him on the last one. I was so happy about that.
Love goals like that.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Uh,
a lot of personal satisfaction for beating a rival finally.
Yeah.
Where you're meant
yeah. Like
I
it
never
was
did
so
it.
stupidly climactic too, because it was like they were fighting on a beach, and he ended up beating him by giving him a German suplex
Nice.
and like dislocating his shoulder.
classic.
That's why PK was fucking Mr. Dom, whipping out those German suplexes.
Don't knock it. It works.
It does.
It does.
Better than axe
Paradigm-
kicks.
Paradigm, I would probably say the most memorable in-character moment would be Jack jumping on zombie babies and just squishing them.
The out of context is so bad.
I don't think
There's not a lot of context to that.
I wouldn't think so.
It was basically they were going to save this this kid who could like reality warp around him, and they had fought a bunch of like regular zombies outside, and they finally went inside. He's like, "But I'm scared of the zombie babies," and they were like inside, and Jack just started playing hopscotch on their heads with a giant grin on his face.
Fucking
It's fun times.
psychopath.
Jack always made me think of Soul from Soul Eater. I'm just saying.
That's fair.
Like I just imagine they have the same shark tooth smile and everything.
Oh yeah, he always, whenever I would get like art from like Lisa and stuff, they would draw him with the slasher smile.
Oh man. Okay, so let's move to Thorn. Walk us through this crazy piece of work here.
The son of my actual first character.
Well, yeah. Well,
Well, your first character was Destiny on T59, but you know.
yeah.
That's true. That's true.
We're gonna ignore those two. We're gonna go straight to Thorn because the most recent slash I feel most experienced character in that universe.
Hey, Cain became a god.
That's fair.
Elias was almost done his list.
He was almost done with the list. Poor boy.
But we can skip to Thorn. That's fine.
Do you want to go to? We can go to Elias. You want to go to Elias?
I'm just saying, he's the one I know probably more than Thorn.
All right, we'll go to Elias first then. God damn it.
I just want to know, Leon, how did you not see this coming?
You know, why did I hit?
That'd be
post?
like pulling up my bios from T59 and like skipping Matthew and be like, all right, so let's talk
Yeah, we're
about
not-
Killian.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about Killian.
Let's talk about the important one, Killian.
Here, I linked it to you.
Oh well, I already
Just-
fucked. Thank you though.
I know you were struggling.
I was. I hit post instead of threads.
I was watching you struggle.
Yes. So walk us through Elias then.
So Elias, he was built because I knew nothing about 259. I had no idea. Like I knew you guys called yourselves dragons, and that was basically it.
Perfect. Yeah.
But I had no idea of story. I had no idea about any of the characters. I was just like, okay, this is supposed to be, kind of post-apocalyptic, guns don't work, blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, I'll make a guy who doesn't know anything, and that way, I don't have to know anything.
Genius.
So he came from 253, something like that. I don't remember.
Kingdom of Dirt, that's the important part. Kingdom
Yeah.
of Dirt.
The Kingdom of
256.
Dirt, which was later renamed the Kingdom of Gaia.
Also, it's
Because of-
T5.
There you go. And it was basically just garbage. There was nothing there. And he was the only special person there, or so he thought. So he would just kill people because it made him stronger, because he absorbed their souls. And then he ran into someone who just would not die forever. So he was like, okay, you can hang out with me, I guess. And I always find it funny because his first threads were him just abusing Rose in front of people, and people were just like, yeah, okay, that's fine. But I was like, okay. I guess this is the kind of board we're at.
Yeah, this the universe, man. It's
This is just normal.
At least in Blake's defense, he fucking didn't care about any of you guys. Killian would have put a stop to that shit.
that's true.
Yeah. But he would hit her just because people were talking to her instead of him. He was like, stop taking attention from me. He just kind of grew into an actual person, mostly thanks to Leon.
That's sad.
I honestly, I had a lot of fun with that, where it was something that, like I said, it was like being, your own kind of main character, and then it would also happen for Val or Katsu or Lan, fucking Lan.
Poor
But,
Leia.
Land had such a tragic story.
Poor Lan. But that was a big appeal to me, was the fact that it was like playing the same game but going into different characters of that game and getting to do their part of the story.
Yeah, it's like an actual RPG where choices matter and there's a whole bunch of actual branching paths.
Yeah.
I did what I could. I tried really hard with that, and I'm glad you guys liked it.
We did.
Oh,
we
absolutely.
talked a lot about T59 and things like that, and there's a lot of fond memories. Um, like I mean, I can say that while Paradigm will always hold a very special spot in my heart, all of the things that happen on T59 and Cabal, uh, definitely do. And also, Adam, those are 100% what my favorite interactions with you are both on Cabal and old T59 with Destiny.
Oh fuck.
I so I really liked what you did with Destiny coming in, fighting Matthew, being severely outstatted, knowing you weren't going to win the fight, but like how you dealt with it and how you like had Destiny fight smart to be effective. I really, really enjoyed that, and that up to that point, that was one of the most fun threads I'd ever had with you. Because normally with Paradigm, you were GMing, so it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was a thread with you. It
Yeah.
was a thread for me or for the group that you were running. Because I didn't really socialize with your characters that much outside of Quest because they ran in very different circles than Jack.
Yeah. And that kind of makes sense because like Paradigm, you get like 8-9 people at a time on your. It's just like I can give you one line out
Yeah.
of my post.
Yeah, so like all of your arcs I really enjoyed, but like I never felt like those were threads with you. They were just Adam's arcs.
Yeah.
And it's because like you said, when you're sharing that spotlight with like 9 to 12 people and you need to have your post in 5 minutes because it's a real-time event.
Yeah.
You do lose something in that. You do
Oh,
lose
absolutely.
Yeah, I think my favorite thread with you, Adam, was when Elias became Leon's apprentice. Like the thread specifically where he did become officially apprentice.
Was that when he was throwing rocks in his window?
Yes.
I like that one too. I for stupid reasons, like the idea where he's just throwing rocks and then Leon opens the window and he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And Elias just freezes and then throws another rock. That just makes me laugh, and it's stupid, but it makes me laugh.
Like a lot of my favorite threads are really shenanigans.
Yeah,
Because there's the crab battle, the soul plane,
Yeah, chariots.
yep, the chariots, the one thread where Leon was in a wheelchair race with somebody and they smashed into him, and his wheelchair flew out the window and it exploded in a heap of like parts and fire and everything. And then the next thread, like a month later, he came back as the wheelchair racer, Racer X. Uh, but
Yep.
a lot of the threads that like stay near and dear to my memory are just full of shenanigans and bullshittery.
yeah. Well, it's because they're so different too, right?
Yeah.
They are. I think my favorite thread with you of all time, though, Adam, is probably near the end of the last Cabal. I really, really liked the thread where Kane was climbing Mount Olympus, that fight with Harpy, the fight with Matthew, overcoming that, and then the thread part that you had with Kaya, and this like what if scenario in his mind of like the bad future. And
Yeah,
I really loved seeing how Kane thought and overcame those challenges. To see him put like just straight up forget the whole reason he was here. It's like, wait a second, this is now my interest. Everything everything else stop and just like go full in and fully lean into that with that passion. I really, really admired that and I really liked it. And I, as a GM, will forever appreciate the fact that like when you found out that if you fail this test to get your god right, that you will never ever be a god on Kane, that you just kept playing Kane like you play him, and that you weren't freaking out, that you weren't like trying to get mercy, and that you're like, well, I better not fucking fail then.
I mean, there was that fear where I was like, "Oh fuck!" Like, I want him to be a god. That's the whole point of the character. but I was like, fuck, man, what if I don't do it? But then I was like,
But the fact
do
that
it.
test too.
I gotta do what that character does. He wanted to just go in there, so I was like, okay.
I mean, it was perfect, and I mean, and that's why I wanted that to be like, if you fail, period, there's no second chances. You don't get to pick another guide. You don't get to try for this because that takes away the stakes and that tension. Like you could feel, to me, you could feel it in the thread, like Kane's own desperation and fear and overcoming that fear. Like that's so memorable, especially in my years of role playing. So many characters don't actually explore what fear is like for them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and to see this character who's normally so brash and aggressive and like arrogant, like, man, I'm the fucking shit. The hell are you talking about? Like actually feeling fear, not for his life, but like for his ambitions,
Mm-hmm.
his sense of self and worth, his identity of who he is in his mind and heart. That is so rare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it made it feel more real, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of organic RP when it comes to I get our group really. Like one of the reasons that Elias becoming Leon's apprentice thread is one of my favorites is because it showed a growth already in Elias where he legitimately thought something over instead of just jumping at it and being like, yeah, of course I'll be the best. It's gonna happen because I'm powerful. It was one of those ones where it's like, this might actually be something that I want.
Yeah, like and up until that point, honestly, he didn't really have goals as like a character. Like you could say his goal was like he just wants everything
Yeah.
because he's fucking greedy, but like that's not really a measurable goal.
Yeah.
But then at that point, he was like, here's something tangible that he can like go after.
And it has value to people outside of himself and the territory. It's a way, like, it would make people all over the known world recognize him and how great he is and how much value he has intrinsically.
Oh,
As a-
for sure. Especially because apparently his parents abandoned him, or so I found out.
as one does.
That's what it does. So we're gonna do. Adam, you get to ask both of us a question. We're gonna look at Thorn and then do our final questions.
Fuck, you guys took all my damn questions. Because my easiest first question was gonna be like, all right, what was your favorite thread with me?
Ooh,
I was
answered.
like, oh, guess we've done that already.
right.
We did do that. We offered that one up. That was
Powered
freebie.
through it.
Okay, here's an easy one.
Mm.
What's your favorite character of mine?
Who's that one, too? Because you get to ask us each a question.
Both of you.
Oh, you're asking us both the
That's
same question?
that's my easiest way out of that. I didn't come prepared with questions.
Okay, so
Got it.
between for me it's a toss up between Lan and Katsu.
Really?
Yes. I loved
Why Katsu?
I loved Katsu's concept just because where he came from and the things that he interacted with, just the way he reacted to everything. I hadn't seen it before in this setting.
Okay.
So it was like you gave me options with Katsu to explore things that other people never even thought of exploring.
Like the fact that his chi was another character kind of thing.
Right. And not just another character, but that other character also was a being that was just becoming important to the universe's lore.
Damn.
Yeah. for me, it would still be Kane. Not just for that one thread where you just that absolute treat of being able to see fear, but his interactions with other people, his interactions with Kaya, that kind of bratty rivalry childhood. I think that's a fantastic trope, and a lot of people really don't lean into it nowadays. Everyone's very stoic, so seeing like that hot hair flare up and just start yelling, and even when it was counter to his own to what's best for him, just seeing you and him lean into that, as well as seeing like how he interacted with other people. Like if he thought that you weren't strong or weren't respecting him, he wasn't going to respect you. And he actually kind of had to earn his respect, even if it wasn't that hard to earn it. You still had to. Where again, a lot of people, they try to go this path of least resistance and like, oh well, I just like everybody. I'm just a little friendly snowflake. Kate's like, no, fuck you, fight, or shut the fuck up and get out of my way, or something along those lines. And it made him very dynamic. His duo with Kaya was very fun, and I liked that he had a character concept and goals and fears and everything inherently baked in with his goal of being his goal of being a god. And then even after he achieves that, like the opportunities and pathways and things that opens up to explore, the nature of this responsibility, the cost of power, um, you know, dealing with like things that you might regret, like if you get what you wanted, but it's not what you wanted, and having to kind of like deal with these downsides. Because up until this point, because this is right after I had been, we had divvied up kind of like the lore. And since Leon was no longer focusing on like everything himself, I'm like, I'm going to change a lot of this stuff. And now a lot of these awesome powers are going to have some downsides, because power without a cost, that's just power creep. But now if it's got a cost and something bad associated with it, now it's a choice. Now it's a characterization.
Mm-hmm.
And you were going to be like the first one, since you went for it, to be able to explore this. And I was so excited, because in all of the stat boards on the Shenverse, in pretty much 90%, 95, or even closer to 100% of Paradigm, power gained was only ever really power gained.
Yeah.
There was never really a downside to getting stronger. There was a little bit with the sentient powers, but there was enough ways to kind of work around it that eventually that kind of got negated. There was never like this ever looming, like, you will live with this forever. This is part of you, good and bad. And Kane was going to be the first person, to my knowledge, really in the history of the Shin metaverse here, that was going to have an opportunity to really explore that and have that kind of forced on them, based on, ironically, your successes and triumphs.
Yep.
And I think that was so fascinating, and I am heartbroken that we never actually got to explore that.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. Like, there was a lot of, I guess, loose ends. But, it is what it is.
Such is life.
Yeah. Conqueror will return. No worries. So let's go through Thorin real quick. Tell us about this blood magic sex ritual, baby.
I mean, I think you just said it right there.
Kind of, yeah. Thorin is the second child of Elias and Rose. He was very quiet, and he ends up, because his mother and his sister both have insanity powers, often without them knowing that they're emitting them. It kind of drove him crazy as he was a baby and getting older.
Mm-hmm.
So he ended up having a second self that he kind of formed to protect himself, that just had the name Nobody. And so whenever there was stuff that he didn't understand, nobody would kind of step in and take over for him.
Right on.
I think the only other like unique thing I guess about him was that when I made Elias, I made him basically like a straight up powerhouse where all his stuff was just to make himself stronger. Thorn was built to just be like a debuffer, where he would just make the other guy weaker and weaker. So he was more like a support kind of fighter, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Not a solo.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Right on. Right guy, you're up.
So this is our last questions, right?
Yeah, final questions.
So I guess if I had to choose a final question, it would be as someone who has been role playing for the last 15 plus years, what piece of advice would you give to any new role player who may stumble across this video and sit through an hour and a half, 2 hours of us rambling, talking, and joking about things that they weren't around for?
The easiest advice I would say is just don't take yourself too seriously. Like it's you role play for fun. Everybody role plays for fun. So just even if you feel like your character's a trope that's done quite often, do what you find is fun.
I think that's good advice. You know, we all play tropes. You know, so just enjoy it.
Yeah, there's even if you're picking something like, oh, I'm the typical, bad guy anti-hero, your take on it will be different from my take on it. So there's always going to be differences enough that you can make it unique for yourself.
Yeah, don't let people saying that you're a Gary Sue keep you from playing your Gary Sue.
You never know. One day he might get gravity powers and be a main figure on another superhero board.
Yeah.
Exactly. People liked Seth for no reason.
I think we've all had a character that someone says like that's a Gary Stu or Mary Stu. I think that's something that every role player comes across at some point.
Oh yeah.
We all get accused of it at some point in our careers.
It just everyone's gonna have conflicts with other members and stuff. I was pretty lucky to only have one person.
Was it Shimano?
No. Shimino, he just, I don't know. I guess the moment he found out I was from his same city, he was really nice to me. So,
oh, this guy could actually come over here.
Online act have consequences socially for him.
Right.
It's weird how that works, but
Love it.
Small world though.
Very.
what are the fucking chances?
Well, as large as Texas is, Tex Ryan lived in my city for a while.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Right?
Like,
I remember Leon used to go to his GameStop that he worked at.
And Tex Ryan would ignore me.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't care. Anyway.
He does what he does.
I would figure he would enjoy somebody to talk to in an abandoned GameStop, basically.
But he was happy daydreaming. I don't know.
Probably.
You stopped him from posting, Leon.
Yeah, way to
Yeah,
go.
that was my fault, I guess.
We were waiting for posts.
Listen, I cannot tell you how many phone posts I did when I worked at the car wash.
Yeah, I remember. We'd be on the phone posting.
Yeah, we would.
And I'd hear that fucking car wash going off all the time.
Yeah, you would.
So my final question is, what would you say your inspiration was early on, like in the beginning, versus what it is now, in terms of like music or where actions come from, like that kind of inspiration?
Yeah. I would say, like, early on, all my stuff was basically things I had seen in books and anime, whatever. Like, fucking PK basically became Vegeta, except stupid. But like now, and probably for the last 2/3 of role playing, I would say most of my inspiration comes um, from music, for sure. Like
Mhm.
that gets me in the mood for whatever type of posting I feel like doing, like whether it be a fighting post or a dramatic post or like a sad post. Like the music really helps with getting that inspiration and getting the right words to come out. Um, and also just the people that you're posting to. The posts I give to someone I don't know tends to be a little less just because I'm not sure how they react to certain styles or whatever.
Mhm.
And I kind of like give out little feeders almost to be like, okay, how would you react to this post? And then as I kind of get to know that person, it's easier to roleplay with them.
Right on. I feel
It
that.
makes sense, and I feel like that translates not just characters, but like actual RPers. Like I feel like I've RP'd with you enough that even if you throw a new character at me, I feel like I can navigate that all right as opposed to someone I've never met before.
Yeah, I would 100% agree to that. Yeah.
Um, and I guess going in the vein of my last question, I'm going to sneak in one more because I feel like this is something that we all kind of feel when we're new, but you look at you join a board and you look at the people and you're like this person's got like 1,000 posts or something and you're like you get that intimidation. um do you think have you ever kind of gotten over that like shyness and feeling of intimidation when you join a new board in a new community? Has that ever gone away for you, or do you still feel that every time you join a new community?
Um, I it's much less now. When I originally joined, like I had Kazuki show up in my first thread, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's the fucking admin in my thread. What am I supposed to do here? I don't want to make a fool of myself." But as you kind of get used to them, it's just like it's just another guy. Like you don't have to really worry about it. Like the most I would worry about is just, as I said, kind of feeling out the person, seeing what they like, what they dislike. Um, but overall, people are just people. Fine.
That's really good to hear.
Feel that.
I mean, I think that's it for me. Leon, is there anything that you wanted to do to wrap us out?
Well, I didn't have anything specific. Unless you are getting over your laziness and working on a new board.
Oh God, no. I the I would never plug a board or anything because I could not handle more people than who I personally invite to anything.
Right on.
Gone are the days of Paradigm where I can post to 15 fucking people.
Mm-hmm. Well,
You
all
would have
right.
thought with COVID we would have more time on our hands and not less to be able to do this, but go figure.
Right, shit.
Yeah, instead it's all just, how am I gonna get food today? I don't know.
That's pretty much it, yeah. Da-da-da-da.
The only thing I would say that I want to add
Yeah.
is that Leon thinks a hot dog is a sandwich.
It's a fucking sandwich, okay?
And it's not. And apparently he eats them same way he eats subs. And that's
Yes.
fucking weird.
It's not weird.
It's kind of weird. Again, I still say you need to like do an eat stream on Twitch now.
I will do a social eating Twitch
You
stream.
get affiliate. When you get affiliate, do an eat stream on Twitch, and I swear to God, I will throw bits at you.
Okay, if we reach affiliate, okay guys, that's the goal now. We have to reach affiliate so that I can do an eating stream. I will take a hot dog in a bun to Subway, get a sub, and I will eat both right there.
It's,
I mean,
it's an
you
eating
have-
ASMR.
You can just have like a sub delivered to you, can't you? Like Instacart it. I don't know. Do it in the comfort of your own home. I mean, if you're gonna I'm just saying, if you're gonna eat a hot dog wrong, you might as well do it in the comfort of your own couch.
It's not wrong. I eat the hot dog normally. I just turn my head sideways.
I just picture the hot dog like coming partially out of the bun and just like wiggling as he bites it, like a tail.
Just cracks his neck to the side.
Oh God, I'm just thinking of more horrifying things that he could do that hot dog. We need to stop this before I go too far.
Okay. That's
Also, yes, now I'm finally in drama with someone. Done did it.
Fuck you, Adam.
Great hot dog war of 2020.
Right.
There's the last big event of the of this terrible, terrible year.
So that's gonna wrap up this podcast of Out of In Character. I'd like to thank both Ryan and Adam for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for inviting me. This was a pleasure.
All right, and if
This
there's,
was also a pleasure for me.
as you said, if there's anyone you would suggest I try and interview, who would it be?
To try to interview?
Well, the last time I tried, I sent out a message of no hope. It worked out, so.
Fuck, who else has been on a lot of boards? Maybe Tanya.
I can give that a try.
Oh God, I already know the things that I would bring up.
There you go. Take that, Tanya.
It's a good thing this is not a child-friendly stream.
Right, shit. Well, that's it for this one. Catch us next time. I will have Marcus Prasad, or Ragin, on Monday. It'll be sometime after 6 o'clock.
Sounds like fun.
Peace out.